Hello, in this video I'm showing you how to install, set up and operate the Vaillant SensoRoom Pure. Now Vaillant has made this thermostat for the homeowner who just wants a simple operation. So maybe the older customer who just wants a thermostat on the wall, and then when they want to put the heating on they just turn the thermostat up, and when they want to turn the heating off they just turn the thermostat down. Installing it also unlocks the timer which is built in on the boiler. And it is boiler plus, so it satisfies all the regulations because it has load compensation. So now the thermostat will adjust the flow temperature of your central heating, making it way more efficient. Now whilst I think this thermostat is perfect for the person who just wants that simple operation, when I installed it I found there are several really big negative points. And I'm going to go through all those points in detail in the video. It's a real shame because it probably would have been my go-to control. At the end of the video I'll sum up what I think of this Vaillant SensoRoom Pure, so make sure you stick around to the end. I want to quickly let you know that I made lots of other videos all about this boiler and the controls to go with it. So if you want to watch the video on the new smart control, that's Vaillant's SensoRoom, that allows you to use your smartphone to control the heating. You can watch that video. I've got a video on commissioning. I've got a video on how to operate it for the customer, simple operation. Then of course you can check all those videos out and lots more in the description below. Right, now let's get on with this video. Now the first thing I want to tell you about this SensoRoom Pure, so I don't waste any of your time, is that this unit is hardwired into the boiler. So you need to run a wire from the room thermostat back to the boiler where you connect it to the eBus connection. So for me this is a major downside to this unit. Why Vaillant couldn't have made this wireless I don't know. Besides a couple of other features which I'll get into in a minute, I think it's a great little room thermostat and perfect for the older person. So Vaillant, if you are watching this, please make it wireless. Let me know in the comments what you think. Just a quick note, Vaillant did tell me that this unit can be used on the older Vaillant boilers. So here's our SensoRoom Pure and let's see what we get in the box. So here's the thermostat. First impressions, I think it looks quite nice. But straight away I can see that the screw connections are at the top and the bottom and slightly offset. So I'm thinking they're probably not going to line up with an old thermostat which you may have on the wall. So you probably have to drill some more holes. So that's our thermostat, and here we have a little pack with 2 screws in it and 2 wall plugs. And then we have a little pack with all these instructions in. And here we go, here's the English one. So all this lot can go in the bin. So let's take a quick look at the instructions because there are a few important points amongst all the other waffle which is in there. So this page here comes from the boiler installation manual, and it's the first page which is relevant to the SensoRoom Pure. So if we look at the line cross-sectional area, that's our wire size. Interestingly, on the mains power supply now, it's saying it should be 1.5 or bigger. I did check with Vaillant and that's a new thing for this boiler. But more importantly, the wire size for our Senso thermostat should be 0.75, even though it's a really low voltage and only carries data. The other bit that applies to us on this page is the wire length. So we can run this cable in 0.75 up to 50 meters. But if we run it further than 50 meters, so we can go up to 125 meters, it needs to be run in 1.5 millimeter cable. If we go to the next page, there's a couple of bits of interest here. The power cable should be running on the right hand side and our data cable should be running on the left hand side. Also, running our Senso line next to other electrical cables. They're saying that it has to be 100 millimeters away to stop interference. I'm thinking that if you're using an old thermostat wire, you can pretty much guarantee that the wires are going to be run all together with all the power cables. So that's definitely something you might want to think about. The next 3 pages in the boiler installation manual don't have much to tell us, apart from leaving a link in the 24 volt connection, but I'll show you that on the circuit board. Then finally, we got the instructions that came with the thermostat. Now the first page is intended for the homeowner. The only part we're interested in is on the second page where it says installation. Now if you can read this installation once and fully understand it, you are definitely a better man than me. Rather than try and explain what each paragraph means, I'm going to get straight on with the installation. Obviously, the first thing that we want to do is turn the power off to the boiler. Now I have my thermostat wire coming in on the left hand side and we are looking for that bus connection, this one here. You can now see that I've wired up the bus connection And obviously there is a plus and a minus, but on this SensoRoom Pure, the plus and minus don't matter. Now the other really important bit is we must leave that RT link in place. You may be used to removing it whenever we fit third-party controls, but leave it in place, otherwise it won't work. So that's all we need to do in the boiler. So now we can close the electrical box and wire up the thermostat. Let's take a look inside the thermostat. So we just get a screwdriver and push it onto that little tag on the bottom there, and then just pull it apart. There's not much to see in here, but there's the electrical connection for our two wires. Now I've got it screwed on the wall and wired up. I did have to drill an additional hole. Like I pointed out before, these holes are kind of offset in a slightly weird position, which is again a little annoying. So now I'm ready to turn the boiler on. So that's the boiler starting up, and we're going to see what comes up on the screen. Now you can see that the boiler has started up with the heating icon selected, and we can see there's a picture of a line going through the radiator, and it says 34 degrees actual flow temperature. I'm going to now press the back arrow to take us back to the standby screen. Now I'm going to press the menu button, and you can see again that the heating icon is illuminated and we still have that line going through the radiator. Once you've connected the SensoRoom Pure, you can no longer adjust the central heating temperature. The room thermostat will now adjust the power and the temperature that the boiler runs at for your central heating, depending on the amount of heat that's needed in the house. So effectively, that heating button now does nothing. And for me, this icon is a little confusing. It makes it look like the heating is no longer available. Once we've turned the boiler on, we can go into the settings on the thermostat. Now there's no need to go into the settings because the default settings are fine if you just want to use it as a thermostat. But you might want to change the lower temperature setting because the default is 15 degrees and you might want to set that a little lower. Now there's only 3 things we can change on this thermostat, so let's go through them. So to go into the settings, we need to press and hold the button in on the front of the thermostat for 10 seconds. And there we go, that's 10 seconds. Now the screen started flashing at me. Then I need to enter the installation code, which is 00. So I turn the dial and then press the button. Then we come to the first setting, which is CT. Now there's no need to change this. This is only used if you are using additional controls where you would then wire this into those additional controls. So we leave that one alone and press the button again. Now this is the warm start setting. I can't really see the point in this. You can turn the dial and select on or off, but I've already done it on the boiler, so I don't see the need to do it on the thermostat. And if you've already turned it off on the boiler, it says that this has no effect. But I'm going to leave it off and then press the button to go to the third setting. Now the third setting is the one we might want to change, and that is the lower temperature setting. So you can see it's at 15 degrees. Now I think we should be able to set this a little bit lower, so I'm going to turn it down to 10 degrees. And then I press the button to set that setting. And that's it. It just goes back to the normal screen. So there's not much to that, and now the thermostat is all ready to be used. Now to adjust the temperature is really simple. We just turn the dial, turn it anti-clockwise and the temperature goes down. And now you can see that lower temperature setting has been reached. That's 10 degrees. If we want to turn the temperature up, we just turn the dial clockwise and you can see the temperature rises. There's no adjustment for the upper limit, so that will just go to 35 degrees. After you've finished setting the temperature, you could press the button, or we can just leave it and after 5 seconds it'll go to the room temperature. And there you go, room temperature 20.5 degrees. So that's it, pretty straightforward. Now let's move on to the built-in boiler timer. Now there's 2 ways of setting the timer. There's the manual way and then there's the timer program assistant, and that's definitely the easiest way to do it. Now I did start with the manual mode first, and that's where I turned the timer on. So I press the menu button in the middle where it takes us to control. I then press the tick to enter control. You can then see it says heating timer. So we want to scroll down to heating timer like that. Then press the tick again. And now it loads the heating timer. Now you can see it says heating timer off. So we press the tick to adjust that. And now we just use the slider to change it to on. Then press tick again. And that's it, the timer is now turned on, and you can see it says saved. We could now go into the manual mode of setting the timer by selecting weekly planner, but I'm going to go back and show you the program timer assistant because that's the easiest way to set it up. I just want to quickly jump in here and introduce myself. My name is Mark Ballard and I've been a gas registered engineer for nearly 30 years. The aim of my channel is to help you with your central heating and your plumbing. If you find this video at all useful, then please give me that little bit of feedback by clicking on that thumbs up or the subscribe. You can ring on the bell if you want to receive a notification, and of course you can share the video with your friends. If you visit my website, I've categorized all my videos on products and parts that I recommend so you can easily find what you're looking for. And I'd like to say a really big thank you to everybody who's bought me a cup of coffee and left me a donation in my Toolbox fund. It's really appreciated and it does really help me to make more videos which will hopefully help you. So we go back to the control menu and now we just scroll down to where it says Timer Program Assistant. Down there like that. Press the tick again to enter. And then there's a little sentence telling us that this is where the assistant will help us set up our heating and hot water. So we press the tick again. So this is start time. So we just use the slider again to set our start time. So you could set it to say 8 o'clock, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to set it at 6 o'clock. Then I'll press the tick again. And then it asks me, am I home during the day? I'm going to tick yes. If I tick no, it would then give me a morning off period. So here we go, I'll press tick and then it takes me through to the evening settings. So that's the time when the heating is going to go off. Again, we just use a slider to adjust that. I'm going to leave it at 10 o'clock and press tick. Then it takes me through to the Saturday and Sunday settings. Now we're going to keep those the same. So just press tick. And there you go. Thank you. It's all set up. Then we press tick again and it saves those settings. Now, if you do want to see what your settings are, you can go up to the heating timer and then click on the tick to select that. Then we just scroll down to weekly planner. So there we go, scroll down, press tick to see the timer. And there you go, you can see Monday to Sunday is set from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Pretty straightforward. Then we can just press the back arrow to go back and press back again and press back again and back again to take us back to our home screen. And I think that's the easiest way to set up the timer by using that Timer Program Assistant. You can also set the timer manually so you could then set each day with different times. So once again we click the menu button and tick on control and then we can see the first line is heating timer. So scroll down to heating timer. Press the tick again to select that. We can then scroll down to weekly planner like that. Press the tick and there's our weekly planner. You can see that Monday is highlighted and if we press the tick to go into Monday, we're then given these options here. Add time periods, copy settings to, or delete all periods. I'm just going to select the top one and there we can see the time. Now it's pretty straightforward. You just use a slider again and just adjust the time where you want. So this says 8 o'clock. Now I decided to set this timer to have 2 time periods. So I was going to set it from 8 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I made a second time period from 4:30 to 10 o'clock at night. And that was quite easy to do. You just selected an additional time period. Now this is where I think there is another flaw in this thermostat. Obviously you can make your own mind up, but the heating is only available in those time periods. There's no way of overriding it and bringing the heating on during the day if you're cold during the day. Again, I phoned Vaillant Technical to definitely check this was the case, and they said no, if your timer is not selected, you cannot bring on your central heating. And I think if this is pointed at the older person, that is a bit of a downside. Because you know full well that old person is not going to be touching the timer on the boiler and they're going to be turning that room thermostat up, but it's going to make absolutely no difference unless the timer is actually selected to be on. Now hopefully you've been following what I've been doing on the screen. You can see I've set 2 time periods and now I'm going to copy that Monday setting right the way across all the week so all the week is the same. I'm just going to speed that up and now you can see the week is completely set with 2 time periods. And then I can just press the back arrow and then it says saving and it takes us back to the timer menu. And then we can keep pressing back to get back to the main screen. So that's about it for this SensoRoom Pure. So let's just quickly sum up what I think of this thermostat. I think it's a great little thermostat. You can just turn it up to turn the heating on, turn it down to turn the heating off, and the fact that it operates the boiler at more power when it needs it and less power when it doesn't. Those are all great features. And of course unlocking that timer as well. But the fact that there is no override, so you can't put your heating on when you're outside of the time periods, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, what's the point of having a timer if you can't then put your heating on when you're cold during the day? Or if it's really cold at night, we have really cold weather, it's minus temperatures, they might want to run the heating during the night as well, just to keep the house ticking over. But you can't do that with this thermostat. It just doesn't make sense. And from an installer point of view, why they couldn't have made this wireless, I just don't know, because everything is wireless these days. It just doesn't make sense. It just means you've got to use either the old wires, which are almost certainly going to run next to other wires, which means they're going to get interference. It could bring the heating on at weird times, and no one wants their homeowner calling them saying, my heating's coming on at weird times. So it kind of means you then have to run that wire, which means taking floorboards up and chasing that wall. I mean, who wants to be doing that? You just want to simply change the boiler. Because there's also a really good chance we're going to be replacing boilers which have already got a wireless control. So why would we want to spend half a day installing a thermostat which needs a wire? Just doesn't make sense. So all this means that I'm going to probably stick with my go-to programmer, which is the Honeywell T3R. It's got the override, so you can simply just turn it on and off. It's got the timer if you want to use that. Of course, it's wireless, it's boiler plus, so it satisfies all the regulations. And it costs about the same, which is around £80. Let me know in the comments what you all think and what your go-to programmer is. Right, that's about it then. So if you want to watch my video on the new Vaillant SensoRoom Smart Control, you can click on the link just here. If you want to know how to operate the new Vaillant boiler with a digital display, you can click on the video just there. You can click on subscribe, ring on the bell for notification, give me a thumbs up, share it with your friend, and it's always my toolbox fund. Bye for now, and I'll see you next time.